Hi everyone, welcome back to our machine learning sessions. This is your Akkam Yaganteshwaradu. Today I'm going to discuss one of the important topic that is dataset preparations. So these are the different dataset preparations, train set, test set, validation set, and these are the multiple approaches while preparing the dataset. We'll see with an example. So what are these and which are the more appropriate approaches for designing the train and test set preparations? So first of all, we'll discuss why I require train and test set, why validation set is optional, and then we are going to discuss all these three approaches. So train and test set. So why I require train and test set? First, I will explain with simple example. Let us assume I am training a student for data science and he has to attend outside world, so he wants to face data science interviews. Before sending him to data science interviews, so for example, i trained my student I trained my student with various topics on data science like machine learning, pandas and numpy and so on. So I trained my student with various machine learning topics or data science topics. First, I wanted to get confident he is able to clear the interview if he attend the interviews. So what I need to do, I need to test my student. I need to test my student. So what I need to do, I need to ask some questions on data science, like what are the different types of machine learning algorithms, or what is pandas data frame and so on. Means I need to test whether he is able to answer correctly or not. So understand there are two terms here. So train and test. Same concept is applicable for our machine learning. You design some diabetes prediction or COVID-19 prediction system, diabetes prediction or COVID-19 prediction system. So we are having the data set. That data set is used to train your model, train the model. And now you trained, means my model is observed all the patterns in the diabetes data set. First, then I need to test my model. So directly you are not eligible to deploy your model in the production systems. First, you need to test your model. So after testing, so for example, if your model is performing 95% accurate or 100% accurate or 98% accurate, so if you confirm your model is working fine, then you are going to deploy your model. So training set and test set. Why I require two things is, I need to train my model because my model has to learn the patterns in the data set, and I need to test my model to evaluate whether my model is performing well or not. So if I confirm my model is working fine, then I can deploy my model in the production server. And I'm telling one more data set, validation set is optional. Validation set is optional. Usually validation set, when we are going to perform, means we are going to perform in the production. So I'm going to validate it during production. Let us say I trained my student, I tested my student, that is my job done there itself. Next, I need to evaluate, means evaluation is nothing but he is attending real interviews. Real interviews. So during that time, so he can be tested from the outsiders, like interviewer can test, he can ask some questions maybe which I trained, some questions maybe not trained. So then we can actual evaluate during the validation. So that's why this validation set is optional. During training and testing, that will be done by the developer, but validation will be done in the production system with the live data. So live data, with the live data. So this evaluation in the live data that can be taken care, means continuous evaluation will be done. And if my model is not performing well, again I need to train my model. Again I need to perform all the machine learning phases. That will be the secondary, means that will be the second phase. First I trained my model, tested and deployed, and evaluation can be done in the production system. If it is failing, again I need to retrain. Same thing, if the student is failing multiple interviews, again he has to approach some trainer, again he has to rectify his problems, again he has to attend the interview. Same concept. So training and testing are the mandatory data sets, but validation is that will be done on the production system with live data. Now we can see what are the different approaches to prepare this training and testing set. There are three approaches. If you see first approach, keep 100% data for train set and keep 20 to 30% of the data into the test set. Here, if you see what is the problem here is keep 100% data. Let us say I'm having 1000 diabetes data set, 1000 diabetes records, 1000 diabetes records. Here, out of 1000 diabetes records, what is this approach is telling is train with 1000 records. Train with 1000 records. Out of these 1000 records, test your model with 20 to 30%. That is 200 to 300 records. Take out of 1000, take 200 to 300 records and test your model. So here clearly observe what's happening is I trained with 1000 records. I'm again taking out of 1000, I'm taking some 200 to 300 records. I'm testing. So here already my model learned all these 1000 records. If I test with these 1000 means if I test out of those 1000 records only, exactly what it will happen is it is able to perform well because already trained with only those records, then it may perform very well and it will give 100% accurate results because it is trained with the same records, right? Nothing but take simple example. If you are confusing with this, take simple example. I trained my student with 10 data science questions like what is Python, what is supervised learning, what is Pandas data frame, and so on. I given 10 questions to the students, means I explained all those 10 questions. If I ask out of 10 questions, let us say what is supervised learning, what is Pandas data frame, because he already know the answers for all those questions, supervised learning and pandas data frame. So what it will happen is he is very happy and he can easily explain all those two questions because he already trained with only those 10 questions. So then here during this time he will perform well, but he will went to interview, and during that interview one question is what is supervised learning, that is fine. Instead of pandas data frame they ask numpy multidimensional array. Then what it will happen is he can he may fail in the interview because there will be some unknown questions in the interview. So that's why testing should not happen on the trained records. Instead of that, some new records we need to use. So for example, I train my student on supervised learning, pandas data frame, and so on. So what I need to test my student is I need to give some excel. I need to ask him to construct some pandas data frame. On top of that, I need to ask him to construct some supervised learning. That kind of I need to test it how he is able to apply my techniques on the outside world. So that if I'm able to test with the different capable means how he is thinking on top of the trained questions, then I can understand whether he is able to go outside interviews or not. So that's why this training and testing should be something independent data set so that you can able to identify your machine learning model performance. So this first approach is not useful. Keep 100% data and out of 100% data use 20 to 30% of the data for test set. This is not appropriate because during and testing it will perform 100%. Second approach is so out of 100% keep 70 to 80% of the data. Second approach, keep 70 to 80% of the data for training and 20 to 30% of the data for test set. So let us say 1000 records. out of 1000 records, 70 to 80%, 700 to 800 records for training, and 200 to 300 records for testing. As I told, usually industry standard, we will follow 70-30 or 80-20 standard. 70-30 or 80-20 standard. So what it will happen is, I'm training with 700 records, I'm testing with remaining 300 records. So I trained my student with the 10 questions. Let us say I have 10 questions. Out of 10 questions, I trained my student with 7 questions, and I am testing my student with 3 questions. Then what will happen is, whatever the problem we faced in the first approach, that will be eliminated because this testing set will be different. I can observe the performance of my student. Again, there is a problem here. So one more problem here is, let us assume out of 10 questions, first 7 questions are machine learning questions. Machine learning questions. And next 3 questions are pandas questions. What will happen is, if I divide first 70%, that is 7 questions for training, and next 3 questions for testing, here this approach also inappropriate, because I didn't shuffle the data, so that if I train at least some questions in pandas, if I ask on top of that pandas questions, that will be fine. But if I don't train my student with pandas, but I'm asking questions on pandas, so what it will happen is, that is inappropriate situation. So what is the last approach is, shuffle the data. Mostly it will reduce our problem. So most of the times in machine learning, we are going to follow this approach. Shuffle the data and then keep 70 to 80% of the data for train set and 20 to 30% of the data for test set. So now out of 10 questions, I will shuffle, means first question may be seventh question, and next question may be fifth, the next question may be first, and last question may be ninth, and before that 10, and so on. Like this, if you shuffle the data, there is a chance of not having the similar records on the top, and only test records will be different. Instead of that approach, we are shuffling the data, and now I can divide into 70-30 or 80-20 ratio. If I train my model, there is a chance of overcoming previous 2 approaches. So while designing our machine learning model, mostly we'll use only this approach, that is shuffle the data and keep 70 to 30% of the data, 70 to 80% of the data for training, and 20 to 30% for testing. So that approach we are going to use. This entire approach we'll see with the practical example in the next upcoming sessions. Thanks everyone, and we'll soon meet with other new topics in machine learning. So stay tuned for updates, and please subscribe my channel so that you will get the updated topics in our channel.